kick off this one, I hand you over to Amir from cVidya. He is the lead marketing person on the Catalyst program, and he's going to kick off this presentation. Amir.
Hello, good morning everyone here from lovely San Jose. Really sorry you couldn't be here in the room and in the hall with us, but at least due to the technology, we can still share the exciting work that we've done here. So let me go right through the Catalyst project that we prepared for San Jose. And as you can see, it's about big data and big profits, how we are going to harness the power of data. So what are the goals really in this Catalyst? This Catalyst actually started to evolve back in Nice earlier this year in France. And this is where we started to do content from the big data analytics team. And we went through realization of these standards and best practices. We created some use cases. And what we did new for this Catalyst here in San Jose is through the work in this to identify a need to have a unified analytics big data repository, or what we define as ABDR. And this is really a very innovative approach to big data. And the goal of this Catalyst was really not only to continue working on those use cases, but also to provide this layer of analytics big data repository from where we can extract the data for various use cases, as well as connect different analytics systems. As I said before, the work of the Catalyst project is not residing on its own. It's well connected to the TM Forum standards and best practices as being defined by the analytics, by the big data analytics working group. This is the group that practically defined the guidebook, the GB 979, where you can find use cases and infrastructure documents, everything in a way that the CSP needs in order to kickstart their big data operations. From where we took, from this work, we took some of the use cases and some of the definitions, and here in this Catalyst, we're actually bringing those to life. You can, if you were here, you could come upstairs and see these things working in a live demo. So we are taking real-life use cases, and we are showing how big data can be used in these use cases. And as I said, using this innovative approach of the ABDR, the analytics big data repository. A very key and important thing about the Catalyst project, it's not about 2 or 3 vendors working together. It's actually a much larger team, and through the interest of ABDR, we're able to attract several service providers as champions for this Catalyst: China Mobile, Cox Communications, MediaCom, MTS Allstream, Orange, which are going to speak to you in a couple of minutes, and Verizon. As you can see, these are Tier 1 leading service providers, all joining to this Catalyst project in order to provide an input, provide their requirements, validating the solution, and they make sure that everything that we are going to do here and everything that we are going to see today is really going to use the CSPs and meet their requirements, both technical and the business requirements. The project champions, the suppliers, these are the people who are actually getting the feedback and the comments and the requirements from the service provider and actually validating and creating those demos. All of us are working on this Catalyst, PAD systems, cVidya, Netcracker, and ParStream. So all together, we are creating the demos that you are going to see. As I mentioned before, it's not a one-time thing. This is an evolving project. We progress with this project together with the industry, together with the requirements of CSP. So as I mentioned before, in phase 1 in Nice, this is where we started the work. We started to work on the use cases. This is where we actually find out about the need for an ABDR, to have a unified analytics big data repository in order to avoid replicating data and some other benefits that we will review in a second. So we came here into San Jose really focusing on this ABDR because we identify this as really as something really new, really innovative. You can see all the service providers that I mentioned before are excited about it, and this is what we are going to demonstrate here throughout the week. We are already planning a phase 3 for this catalyst going back to NIST in 2015 in June, and this is where we are going even further develop and enhance the ABDR. So with that, let me invite Gadi Soloporevsky, is the CTO of cVidya and this project team leader, to continue through the presentation. Please, Gadi.
Amir, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. So Amir mentioned this ABDR, Analytics Big Data Repository. Why it's so important? Let's for one moment go back in time to the pre-big data time. You had all these data warehouses, data marts, and you have information duplicated again and again, which was okay. There were good reasons for doing it, but when you start to think about big data, petabytes and petabytes of data, then if you would start to duplicate it for each application, for each use case, for each service, you will end with a big mess, a very expensive mess. So we started from this, and we looked at what we did in this in the first stage of the catalyst. We identified that many of the data sources are used again and again over all the use cases. So the idea is very simple. Take all the information, put it in one place, a big data repository, and have all the applications, all the products using this data repository. So it's really a very simple concept, but it's very innovative. We are the first that are saying this is the way to go. This will enter to the TMO best practices. And we are doing it at the right time. Today, if we started this 3 years ago, operators didn't know what exactly to do with big data. In 3 years from now, operators will have a big data strategy. If we will go in 3 years from now and tell them, change your strategy, it will be very expensive. Now is the point, and later Sophie from Orange will speak about this, that operators are defining their strategy. They're implementing big data, so this is the best time to gain good advice. What would be the benefits of this? First, avoiding data replications, which is very expensive. You will also save an ETL and storage. You know, the cost of ETL, extracting a data source, loading it into your data warehouse, data system, big data platform is expensive. If you do it once and the same data is used for many use cases, for many services, it's great. It's also saves time. Savings in hardware, petabytes of data cost money. If you don't duplicate that information, then you will save a lot of money. And perhaps, and for me, perhaps the most important advantage of this catalyst is that will permit you fast deployment of new solutions because you have the data. A new solution comes that needs to use the same data source. It just plugs in, takes the information, and starts from there, avoiding a lot of cost, a lot of waste time. So the process that we are seeing, we started with the big data analytics guidebook, GB979. You have there plenty use cases of different aspects, customer satisfaction, network planning, fraud, revenue assurance. And we saw, okay, all these use cases are using common data sources, CDRs, deep packet inspection data, CRM, etc. So let's identify this. In the first stage of the catalyst, as Amir mentioned, we identify these data sources. We identify what needs to go to this unified repository. In the stage that we are showing now, and if you are in San Jose, come please and see, we're building the analytics big data repository. One big data for which many applications will use the same information, and on top of that, we're showing several use cases. We will see the details in 1 second. So the first use case that we are showing is a use case by BAE Systems. They want to analyze the impact of investing in the network, but not in terms of less congestion, better service, but what will be the business impact? How it will satisfy the customers? What will be the value for the customers? So they go to this repository, do an analysis using machine learning techniques, and provide recommendations. Then we have the use cases by cVidya. The first two speak about sponsored data. Sponsored data is a situation in which instead of the customer paying for the data, the content provider is paying for the data. And this often plays for revenue leakage. You're not charging correctly for fraud. Somebody can disguise to another entity and charge them instead. So these are the two first cases by cVidya. The third one is marketing analytics. It's about how to encourage more data usage for customers. These are these three use cases. Then we have use cases by NetCracker. All the use cases which we saw till now are offline, are batched. Now NetCracker proposes a real-time business case in which they speak about customer relation management, real-time interaction with the customer, real-time problem solving for the customer, which is very important. It also shows that the same repository, the same information, the same data can be used in many different ways, offline, real-time, etc., but we have only one copy of the data. And then we have a use case by ParStream, which provided also the big data platform that we are using in the project, which has sponsored data around the machine-to-machine connected car for failure data, and machine-to-machine monitoring. So we have all these wonderful use cases. We have live demos upstairs. And what is very interesting is are not just toy products built for the Catalyst. These are the real products of the company that are starting to use the analytic data repository. So what are the outcomes of this project? First, the definition of the analytic big data repository. We will define how this repository should look, what information should go in this repository, so it will be a blueprint of the information that any service, any operator should put there, and any new vendor that wants to use this information will know what to expect to find there. Then we are validating GB979. You know, GB979, the Big Data Analytics Guidebook, is a great book, and we took it and say, okay, let's see that it's not just theoretical, but it really applies to real products in real life. So this is the second phase of the Catalyst. And we also contributed back some new use cases to GB979. From the point of view of the contribution to Frameworx, first, the ABDR doesn't end with this Catalyst. We already have plans to put it as part of the standard work of the Big Data Analytics team to introduce it as part of GB979. We will start to work on this on the Team Action Week that will take place on February in Lisbon. If you have an opportunity to go there, I highly recommend it. We also added new cases for GB979, and as I already said, we validated GB979. So I want to invite now Sophie Nachman from Orange to put their perspective about the Catalyst. So, Sophie, please.
Thank you, Gadi. So Orange is pleased to be the sponsor of this Catalyst Analytics Big Data Repository with this wonderful team of suppliers and CSPs. So, what are the benefits for CSPs of this Catalyst, and furthermore of the work done at TM Forum on data analytics? The work done at TM Forum is data analytics is based on ITOM. ITOM is the business processes of the CSPs. So they are divided into three main components. Level 1 strategy, infrastructure, and product. First component. Second component, operations, network operations, what kind of operation. And the third component is enterprise management. So the use case defined in data analytics take on, there's three components. So this is a way, in this group, we share, best practice are shared amongst various players. So it's very enriching. Then also, I would like to point out that the reference model architecture, reference model has been defined in data analytics working group. So in the catalyst, we have demonstration, proof of concept of use case, and this new concept of analytics, big data repository, unique big data repository. So the strategy is being studied within Orange for big data. So far, of course, there is no unique data repository. Data is split among various IT applications, but it could be of interest to foresee that in the future, to have a unique big data repository that can be used by the various divisions within the operator, and as well by the various, maybe it's not fixed now, by the various subsidiaries of the operators. Next slide. Yes, I think the work done at TM Forum is a way to use a common terminology amongst the players in data analytics, and that can be useful for sourcing and also internally within Orange is a big group, of course, 160,000 employees. Next slide. Yeah. So we are as operator, we have a bunch of data sources as Gabby has explained to you. Data sources from hubs, from all data record, from the customer, from the OSS, BSS. And what makes the difference with big data analytics, with big data, is that it's a way to de-average both OSS and BSS, and to get to make it personalized. So it's a major disruption in this way. So yes, data analytics used for to improve internal business processes, to make them more efficient, more personalized, and as well for the customer experience to get it at 360 degrees, and to personalize, to enriching the customer experience. Together by guaranteeing privacy of the customers with the privacy dashboard. But I think the operators, generally speaking, can be a kind of a trusted party in the new world of digital transformation with big data. Yes, the use case. So far, the data analytics, big data and data analytics can also be viewed as an enabler of NLA orchestrator of the new networks, so the software-defined network and virtualized network, and it's one of the key drivers in data of the convergence of the IT and networks convergence. And what I would like to add is that we think of a data analytics use case for B2B2X. I mean by cross-fertilizing data from the operators and data from vertical industries, let's say automotive, energy, banks, insurance, law, and retail, and a lot of them. So that can be defined new use case. And so, yes, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Sophie, very much. So really, as you can see, the involvement of service providers, someone like Sophie from Orange, is very key. We are taking the service provider guidance and advice to make sure that we are aligned. We have a few more service providers that contribute to this project. China Mobile also provided us with a quote. And again, as Gadi mentioned before, this is a generic quote about how China Mobile, and we don't need to introduce China Mobile in size. Even a service provider like China Mobile is still looking for the right way and the right strategy to go about their big data analytics project. And China Mobile is really saying that by participating in the catalyst with the telephone, they are really able to define and make more knowledgeable decisions about how to develop this strategy. MPS Allstream, they've been with us from phase 1, continue to phase 2, and really emphasizing the contribution of the ABDR, the Analytics Big Data Repository, is something that they already see a value within this layer that can really be a breakthrough into their strategy of big data analytics. And same as Verizon. I mean, you can see by yourself, it's very powerful quotes. Let me even read it to you. Like most CSPs, the challenge for Verizon within the big data isn't around collecting the data. It's about being able to drive value from that data to better meet our customer satisfaction needs and drive customer loyalty. Using the Analytics Big Data Repository ABDR as a foundation and a set of reusable use cases defined in the TMO frameworks, we see a cleaner, streamlined path for gaining incredible value from the web, customer network, and external data managed within our system. And this is coming from Kimberly Simon, who is the VP of Business Intelligence and Analytics within Verizon. So I think really those powerful quotes from Tier 1 service providers are talking for themselves about the value and the innovation of this catalyst and the ABDR. So really, if you were here, I would invite you now to go and see the demo or come to the hub. Maybe some of you can catch an airplane and be here on Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. And see this as a live on the big stage presentation. There's a virtual show bag. There's a website where you can take all the information about the catalyst. We have a web page. So if you go on the conference on events on the TLForum website, you can see the list of catalysts. You can get to the big data catalyst, and we have all the information there. That's interesting. So with that, let me open the floor to get a few questions, if you have any.
Rachel, did you know?
Yes.
On all the teams, we need to get like an English recipe or like.
Okay. Sorry about that. There was technology.
From the BI tool perspective, do you see any performance issues on such a repository? Also, how easy would it be to move the data between unstructured and structured formats?
Okay, regarding performance issues, big data is not just one technology. Of course, for example, if you are using Hadoop, you will not use Hadoop for doing dashboards. You will take information from Hadoop, put it in an aggregate form, use it for dashboards. If you are doing real-time analytics, then you will use the information through, for example, a columnar database. So there are many techniques. The main idea is that you will not replicate the data all the time. So if you need something to show for a dashboard, you can do an aggregation, store it for a limited amount of time. But the source for that will be in the big data analytics platform. When you don't need that dashboard anymore, you will move on. Regarding structure and unstructured, it's always a challenge, but you will know. The advantage here is that you will do it once. So you will deal with the unstructured data once, you will put the information that you need in the big data analytics repository, and now it's free for all the applications to use it, compared to the nightmare of doing it per application. So at the end, there is a big advantage here.
Perfect.
I have a question. Can I ask a question? How do you ensure that the repository can integrate seamlessly from with regards to many different types of applications? What kind of interfaces are you looking at? How does that work?
Well, at this stage, we are not defining the interfaces, but we are defining the data. I assume that later stages we may define interfaces based on artifacts defining GB979 that can preprocess part of the data, give an interface. For example, if you have a use case that speaks about the propensity for a customer to churn, then once you have that information, it can be free for other applications to use it.
Right, okay, thank you. And why, in your opinion, is this important from a standards perspective? Why does it make sense to look at working collaboratively within the industry to try and standardize this?
Well, I think that standards is the key here, because as a vendor, once I go and put a new use case, a new service, a new solution, if I know in advance exactly what is the information that I will see, how I can connect that information, then the integration would be very easy. If on the other hand, I don't have this as a standard, and I need to go to each place and start to investigate what information is there, how it was processed, etc., then it's a much bigger project. It will cost a lot more money, and the implementation will be a lot slower. So standard is the key word.
So you mentioned earlier about working with intelligence that you've built up as part of the Catalyst and bringing that into the data analytics team. So it's as part of that work that this would become standard, is that?
Exactly.
Okay.
So starting from February, we'll start to work at this in the big data analytics team.
Exactly. In a way, you can see the Catalyst project like as a lab, okay, for the data analytics team. So they're sitting there and defining all those things. We are getting those definitions and do a realization of them in real life, real products. We collect the input, we document everything, we bring it back to the team, and this back and forth really between the real life demo and the documents make sure that they are in line with what is possible and what are the needs in the industry.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah,
thank
sure.
you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please, so with that, we need to wrap up. So thank you, Joanne. If you want to say a few words to close this.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I really want to thank Amir, Gadi, and Sophie this morning for giving their time on such a busy morning to come and take this opportunity to talk to everybody who's decided to dial into us this morning. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, same time, same place, we'll be covering 3 more catalysts and again on Thursday morning. Thank you all. See you then.